So hi there everybody. I've been waiting for a long time to test out this beast. This is the Panasonic S1 and I've been really looking forward to it because I've been such a fan of the G8 series and I was really hoping to see if the Panasonic S1 is the full frame Panasonic GH5 as we all hope for. To make a really proper review of a camera, I feel that you really have to have the camera for a while, go through all the settings, change what you like and you don't like. So this is not a video like that because I've used the Panasonic GH5 for almost 2 years and I feel that I know this camera inside and out. I know which profiles I like, I know which settings I like shooting on, and this is not this is something that I don't know about the Panasonic S1. I've been shooting in the flat mode on this camera and I've really enjoyed how the footage looks, but I'm really looking forward to see how the footage or the video footage looks on this camera when you get the vlog and the 10-bit recordings, which will come in a future paid update. Now, when comparing these two cameras, there are a lot of things to think about. One of them is, of course, going to be the size. First time I got this camera in my hand, I was like, oh, it is really big, but it is also sitting really nice in my hand. And the grip of this camera is one thing that more or less all reviewers are talking about and really like, and I'm not going to say anything different. It is really nice. I really like how you use your 3 fingers there to hold the camera and you have your index finger totally free to do whatever you want to, and so the grip is more or less perfect for me. On the Panasonic GH5 I tend to use a battery grip, so I've never had a big problem with bigger bodies on cameras. Now, one thing that might be a problem is probably the lenses, and here you see the 24-105 from Panasonic, here you see the 12-60, and I would say that these are probably the most equivalent lenses you can get for these both systems. And on the lenses you can see that there is a big difference on both weight and ergonomics. Now, when it comes to the ergonomics of the camera, I mean, I really like it. There are so many small things that if you're a Panasonic GH5 shooter, you will like on the Panasonic S1. One thing is that there is a button just to the left of the lens there, and I use it very often. You can have that button dedicated to a lot of different features. But the cool thing on the Panasonic S1 is that you actually have 3 buttons there that you can use and that you have really close to when you're holding your camera, and I found those 3 buttons really nice to use. Now, the feel of the buttons on the Panasonic S1 is going to be a little bit different than on the Panasonic GH5, and I think that the Panasonic S1 has an edge there because the tactile feeling of the buttons on the Panasonic GH5 is, at least for me, better, but it could be that it is because I am accustomed to them being a little bit stiffer, because on the S1 here they are a bit softer, which took a little while to get used to, but now that I have been using this camera for a while, it's not a big problem. Now, one thing that in the beginning I had a really big problem was the joystick, and the joystick on GH5 here protrudes a little bit and it is so much easier to use, and on the Panasonic S1 it doesn't, and it is so much harder to use. But after a while I was thinking, okay, I do have a lot of problems with the Panasonic GH5 when the focus place could by accident change and the focus could be like in one of the corners on the sensor. That problem I never had on the Panasonic S1, and that is probably due to the button not being as easy to pull to the side. So I mean, of course, if at the beginning it was like really hard for me to use it, but using it for a couple of days I got used to it and I wasn't getting the problems that I was getting from the beginning on the Panasonic GH5. Now, when people compare a full frame sensor to a smaller sensor like the Micro Four Thirds, I know that there are some benefits, and those benefits are totally real. One is going to be ISO sensitivity and how it performs that in darker situations, and there the Panasonic S1 is gonna, I mean, kill and blast the Panasonic GH5. There is no contest. There are so many videos that show this on the web. So I would really recommend to see one of those. One other thing is going to be the shallow depth of field that you get on a full frame, and the difference there is Here I have the 24-105, and to get the equivalent shots on a Panasonic GH5 you have to have an f2 lens that has the same range, and that's probably why so many people adapt lenses to the GH5, and the Sigma 18-35 being one of them that people really enjoy using. So that is going to be a big difference between these two cameras, and probably the biggest reason to why people would go with the Panasonic S1. When they come out, we all know that they came out with 3 lenses. This is one of them, the 24-105 f4. The second lens is a 70-200, also an f4, and the third is like a really premium lens that is an f50 f1.4, and these are. Now, I haven't shot with the 2 other lenses too much, but the 24-105 is a really premium lens, and the images from it are spectacular. But going into a new camera and to a new camera system, it's going to take a while until Panasonic have all the lenses that they want in their arsenal. Now, Sigma has of course said that they are going to make a lot of lenses for the system. So it's going to take this year, and then we have a lot of lenses for the system. But on the Panasonic GH5, you can adapt more or less any lenses to this system, and that is probably the biggest reason why to get a Panasonic GH5 is the lens mount and how many different lenses you can get for this camera. Now, when the Panasonic S1 was announced, I was really hoping for it to have a flippy screen. Now we know that it doesn't, and for vloggers that is going to be a problem, but I wouldn't say that's the biggest problem for vloggers, because there are a lot of vloggers using cameras like the Sonys or Fujis, and they don't have the flippy screen, so that's probably not as a big problem as many people want to say. But for vloggers there is another problem, and this is the same problem that a lot of users who use full frame for vlogging have, and it is probably the size. Holding a camera like this in this size is probably going to be an issue if you're not Peter McKinnon and can rock those 1DXs with f2.8 lenses, but for most people that won't be possible to do. Now, the question in the title is the Panasonic S1 a full frame Panasonic GH5? And I would say yes, it is. I mean, you have more or less the same color, and that's a good thing for me because I've come to love the Panasonic GH5's color, and the difference between a Panasonic GH5 and the GH4 is so big. So I would say that is a good thing. Another thing is the dual IS that you have in this camera. It is also very good. It's far better than some of the competition. Now, I am working on a couple of comparison videos between these two cameras, so if you would like to see those, please subscribe to this channel. One of them is really looking at the stabilization. How good is it? Is it as good as on the Panasonic GH5? And I mean, I'm not sure, but I'm gonna make those tests. Another one is gonna be an ISO test where I compare these two, and the third one is gonna be an AF test in video mode and see, are these as good as they can be? Now, should you sell the Panasonic GH5 and go for the Panasonic S1? And that's kind of a difficult question because it depends on how you shoot. How much photography do you do? Because for photography, I feel that if you really are a professional photographer, I'm not saying that you always should go full frame, but it is a feature that lets you stand out, and to be able to get that shallow depth of field even on wide lenses is so key to isolating your subject in your photos. Where it comes to video, it's not as important, at least in my opinion, because with motion in your shots you can get a parallax effect on your video. So for me, that's not as a big deal on the video side. So if you have any questions for me about the Panasonic S1 and how it compares to the Panasonic GH5, please write them down in the comments. There are a lot of videos coming up on these two cameras. I'm also working on more videos on the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema 4K camera, which I really enjoy shooting with. I'm also going to make a couple of videos about the Kinefinity Mavo LF, which I'm using right now. And there are a lot of more videos about that camera coming to my other channel, the Voo Store YouTube channel. So please subscribe to both my channels, and until the next time, bye bye.